For most of the history of the Chinese in Canada and in North America, you had a number of different institutions that took care of them. And they were often mutual aid institutions that people took care of each other. So if you came from the same places in China, you might form a district association because you all came from that place and you should take care of each other, send money home, send someone dies, send their body back, help newcomers, all this kind of stuff. If you were sick, loan money and keep a person going. So what you had was various forms of organizing and mutual aid. Some of them were overtly political. You had the Chinese Freemasons, whose avowed aim was to end the Qing dynasty, and so you had a lot of people within that kind of fraternity that were revolutionaries, that really wanted to bring about a governmental change. You had others that were reformers, like the Empire Reform Association, who were supportive of a Qing government that as long as it changed and modernized. You had others like the KMT, the Kuomintang, who had the Nationalist Party that had a particular vision for China ruled by their party. You had, by the 1950s also, people who sympathized with the new People's Republic of China, who were socialists. And so Chinatown had a myriad of different institutions and organizations created for all kinds of purposes. They overlapped. People had different memberships in family associations and fraternities. But you could also, there's a lot of division and conflict. One of the things that really shifted and changed in the 1970s was that as new migrants came from Hong Kong who were from professions like nursing or social work, who were educated, they began to see needs that new migrants had in the 70s that weren't being met by these older organizations. These older organizations often worked in ways which really depended on who you knew and who you were related to and where you were from. And all of a sudden these people were coming from Hong Kong, a city, and a very urban environment. They weren't coming from small villages where everybody knew each other, where you knew who the relatives were and your uncle could do this for you and say that and get you hooked up. You were now coming from a city to another city. And so a lot of these professionals saw the need for a new kind of organization for immigrant aid, that it wasn't enough to rely on mutual aid among a bunch of people who were all coming one after another, and the more established helped the less established. Now you needed a professional organization. You needed a group that was designed to help new immigrants, and it was also designed to settle them here, to help them get acclimated to a new society, to have them fit in to Canada. And in many ways that really wasn't part of the purpose of the older Chinatown organizations, to bring people over and help make them good Canadians in some broader sense. In the 70s you started to see this integration of new immigrants into an existing society through organizations like Success and Mosaic become very important functions. And it in many ways moved the power of settling and becoming a part of the landscape here away from the older Chinatown organizations. It's not that they weren't still doing a lot of work, it's just that they weren't now the sole people doing this kind of thing.